The story begins in the dense forests of medieval England. A young, scrawny orphan named Arthur, though everyone calls him Wart, is struggling through the branches of a tall oak tree. He is trying to retrieve a lost arrow for his foster brother Kay. Wart reaches too far, the branch snaps, and he plummets down, crashing straight through the thatched roof of a peculiar cottage hidden in the woods. Wart lands in a cloud of dust right in front of an old man with a long white beard and blue robes. This is Merlin the magician. Merlin isn't surprised. He simply checks his pocket watch and says, "I see you're right on time." He explains that he can see the future, so he knew Wart was dropping in for tea. Merlin introduces his highly educated, albeit grumpy, owl, Archimedes. Wart is polite, but insists he must return to the castle to serve Sir Ector. But Merlin, however, decides that Wart is destined for something greater and declares himself the boy's tutor. When Wart says he has to carry his bags, Merlin laughs. He stands up and performs the magical incantation, Higatus Figatus. Suddenly, the entire contents of the house, books, furniture, teapots, and globes shrink down and march mid-air into a single tiny carpet bag. With the house empty and the bag packed, Merlin commands the stunned boy to lead the way to the castle.
There. Now, lead on. To the castle.
Wart and Merlin arrive at the crumbling castle of Sir Ector. Ector, a large, red-faced knight, is shouting orders and preparing Kay for a tournament. When he sees Merlin, he is suspicious. "No magicians," he bellows. But Merlin creates a sudden blizzard around Ector's head to prove his power. Terrified and annoyed, Ector agrees to let Merlin stay, but he assigns him the guest room, a tall, broken-down tower with a hole in the roof. Inside the tower, the room is a disaster. The wind howls through the walls, and rats scurry about. Archimedes complains bitterly, but Merlin is unfazed. He explains to Wart that a castle is just stone, but knowledge is the real power. Outside, heavy rain begins to fall. The roof leaks directly onto Archimedes' head. Ector yells from the courtyard below, demanding Wart come down for chores. Before Wart leaves, Merlin casts a spell. The rain stops entering the room, pooling magically in the air above the hole instead. Wart is amazed. As he runs down to the kitchens, he realizes that life with this wizard is going to be unlike anything he has ever known. Merlin settles into his chair, ready to begin the boy's education.
Now, where shall we begin?
The next morning, Merlin decides it is time for the first lesson, physics. He takes Wart to the castle moat. Wart expects a lecture, but Merlin waves his wand. Within seconds, Wart shrinks, grows fins, and turns into a small orange perch. Merlin transforms himself into a turtle to supervise. Underwater, the world is vast and beautiful. Merlin teaches Wart how to use his tail to steer and his fins to balance. You must use your brain to navigate the currents, Merlin advises. Wart is having fun, doing flips and blowing bubbles, until the water grows cold and dark. From the shadows emerges a massive, toothy pike. The monster fish spots Wart and lunges. Merlin shouts, "Swim for your life, boy!" The chase is on. Wart swims desperately through weeds and old helmets littering the moat floor. The pike is faster and stronger, snapping its jaws inches from Wart's tail. Remembering Merlin's lesson, Wart spots a hollow iron ring. He uses his small size to dart through it. The pike, unable to stop, slams into the ring and gets stuck. Wart escapes to the surface, and Merlin turns them back into humans just as Wart gasps for air. Lesson learned: intelligence can defeat brute strength.
Wisdom will always defeat brute force.
Wart is punished by Sir Ector for being late and is forced to wash a mountain of dirty dishes in the kitchen. Merlin arrives and feels this is a waste of time. He enchants the mops, brooms, and soap to come alive. They begin washing the dishes and scrubbing the floor automatically. With the chores handling themselves, Merlin takes Wart into the forest for a lesson on gravity and relationships. He turns them both into squirrels. Wart struggles to climb with his new claws, but soon gets the hang of leaping from branch to branch. However, the lesson takes a turn when a young female squirrel falls in love with Wart. She chases him relentlessly, trying to hug and kiss him. Meanwhile, a large, older female squirrel falls for Merlin, leading to a comedic chase across the treetops. Eventually, they must return to the castle. As Merlin changes them back into humans, the mood shifts. The little female squirrel approaches Wart. When she sees he is actually a human boy, she is confused and heartbroken. She runs up a tree and cries. Wart feels terrible. Merlin places a hand on his shoulder and explains that love is a powerful force, perhaps stronger than gravity, and not everything can be solved with magic.
Love is also a kind of gravity, my boy. One more powerful than anything we learned today. That even magic cannot easily undo.
Back in the tower, Archimedes the owl mocks Merlin's teaching methods. "I could teach the boy better," he hoots. Merlin challenges him to try. Archimedes decides to teach Wart how to fly. Merlin transforms Wart into a sparrow. Archimedes gives Wart a crash course in aerodynamics, feathers, lift, and gliding. Wart takes off and feels the incredible thrill of flight, soaring high above the castle flags. He laughs with joy, diving and swooping, but suddenly a hawk attacks. Wart panics and flies into a chimney to escape, tumbling down into a dark, creepy cottage in the deep woods. He shakes off the soot and finds himself face to face with Madame Mim, a chaotic and evil witch. Mim hates sunshine and loves misery. She sees the bird and decides to play a game which involves destroying him. Just as she is about to crush Wart, Merlin bursts through the door. He is angry. Mim cackles and challenges Merlin to a wizard's duel to settle things once and for all.
To the death!
The duel takes place in a clearing. The rules are set. They can transform into anything they want, but no disappearing and no dragons. The battle begins instantly. Mim transforms into a crocodile. Merlin becomes a turtle and bites her tail. She turns into a fox. He becomes a rabbit. The changes happen rapidly. Mim turns into a tiger, a rattlesnake, and a rhinoceros, constantly trying to crush Merlin. Merlin, however, uses his wits. He transforms into smaller, faster animals, a mouse, a crab, a goat, always staying one step ahead of her brute force. Frustrated that she cannot catch him, Mim breaks the rules and transforms into a gigantic, fire-breathing purple dragon. She traps Merlin against a tree. "I win," she screams. But suddenly, Merlin disappears. Mim looks around, confused. Merlin reappears sitting on her nose. He has transformed into a germ called Malignolitolopterosis. Mim turns green and breaks out in spots, falling sick instantly. Merlin wins without landing a single blow, teaching Wart once again that brain beats brawn. Months pass, and snow covers England. It is Christmas Eve. Kay has been knighted and is now Sir Kay. Wart is merely his squire, destined to polish boots and carry shields. Merlin is furious that Wart accepts this lowly fate. "You could be great," Merlin argues. When Wart defends his duty to Ector, Merlin gets fed up. In a fit of frustration, he blasts himself off to Bermuda in the 20th century, leaving Wart alone. Sir Ector takes Kay and Wart to London for the New Year's Day tournament. The winner of the tournament will be king. Just as Kay's match is about to start, Wart realizes he has made a terrible mistake. He left Kay's sword back at the inn. Wart runs back, but the inn is locked. Panicked and hearing the tournament trumpets, he runs into a quiet churchyard. He sees a sword sticking out of an anvil sitting on a stone. He doesn't read the gold letters on the stone. He just thinks, "This will do." He grabs the hilt. As he pulls, a golden light descends from the sky and a heavenly choir sings. The sword slides out effortlessly. Wart runs back to the tournament, unaware he is holding the sword of the king. Wart hands the sword to Kay. Kay stares at it, recognizing the inscription. He calls Ector over and lies, "Look, I pulled the sword from the stone." Ector is skeptical. He marches everyone back to the churchyard and jams the sword back into the anvil. "Do it again," Ector demands. Kay pulls with all his might, but the sword won't budge. Other knights try, but it is stuck fast. Finally, Ector looks at Wart. "You do it, boy." Wart steps up, scared. As his hand touches the hilt, the wind rises and the gold light returns. He pulls the sword out as if it were cutting through butter. The crowd gasps. "Long live King Arthur," they shout. Ector and Kay drop to their knees, begging for forgiveness for how they treated him. Wart is terrified. He doesn't want to be king. He is rushed to the throne room, wearing a crown too big for his head. He feels lonely and calls out for Merlin. Suddenly, Merlin appears in a puff of smoke, wearing sunglasses and Bermuda shorts. He sees the crown and laughs with delight. "King Arthur!" Merlin exclaims. He tells the boy that he will lead the Knights of the Round Table and become a legend, guiding him into his glorious future.